Order. Mrs. Huerta, would you please call the roll?
Chairman Everett Roy.
Present.
Board members Roland Barrera.
Here.
Sylvia Campos. I think she's on her way. Eric Cantu is absent. Rudy Garza.
Here.
Paulette Guajardo.
Present.
Gail Hernandez.
Here.
Kaylin Paxson is absent. Mike Pesley.
Here.
Mark Scott.
Here.
James Sedgwick.
Here.
Carolyn Vaughn.
Here.
Okay, we do have a quorum present to conduct the meeting.
Thank you. Our first item is public comment. Would anyone like to make public comment? Mrs. Huerta, do you have you received any public comments?
No, sir.
Okay, seeing that there's none, I'll go to the next item. Are there any corrections to the minutes? If there are none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
I move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. The next item is financial report. I would like to, at this time, table the financial report and bring that back in July.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Okay, our first agenda item is a motion to approve the First Amendment to the TIRZ 3 Downtown Development Reimbursement Agreement with Elevate QOF LLC.
Good morning, TIRZ members. Arlene Medrano, Executive Director, Downtown Management District. We have a request from the developer for Homewood Suites. They've made tremendous progress in the construction of the 5-story, 126-room hotel. However, due to supply chain issues that occurred at the beginning of construction, they are requesting a 1-year extension to complete the remaining improvements. As you can see from the pictures, the completed improvements include the demolition of the previous structures, site utilities and city connections, site concrete portion of the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing rough-ins. They put on a new roof, window install for the rooms, and all structural components of the 5-story hotel are in place. They still have the remaining mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, sheetrock and exterior stucco. They need to repave the parking lot for covered and non-covered parking, build out for retail spaces, and landscaping and new fencing. So they are requesting.
Second.
Okay, I have a approval and a second. Board Member Vaughn, you have a question?
I just have a question.
Let me.
Project been going?
So the project was approved in 2023? 23.
Delays, because I know it wasn't rain.
I'm not sure. Board member, I can find out what the weather delays were specifically, but I can imagine it was more so due to supply chain than weather.
Then put weather, put supply chain instead of weather. I mean, I know it couldn't have been rain. We haven't had that much rain.
Sure.
Just curious. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And to confirm, they did start construction, I believe, like in November or December of '23. So it's been basically a year and a half. Good.
Are there any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Next, we have a resolution approving the fiscal year 2025-26 tax increment reinvestment number 3 operating budget. Oh, you know what? That's the one we want to table. Okay. I want to clarify something. Earlier, I said we were going to clarify that we were going to table the financial report. In lieu of the corrections that we need to make on the financial report and the resolution for the operating budget, I'd like to just bring both of those items back next week or next month in July. No, I can make an additional
Well, you can just table this one too. Do you want to just make a motion to
I'm
table?
going to go ahead and make a motion
To table the
this one
resolution.
Also, so we can,
Okay.
so we have a motion and a second. Did we get a second on that?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Sorry about that confusion. And our last agenda item is DMD updates.
Good morning, board members. Arlene Medrano, Executive Director of Downtown Management District. Our first update is in our placemaking area. I'd like to, I brought this, we talked about this a little bit at last month's presentation, but I'm going to provide a little more background onto the Agnes Sal Chaparral Reimagine project. In 2018, the traffic and planning analysis was commissioned by the TIRZ No. 3 board for the reinvention of downtown Corpus Christi into a walkable, connected neighborhood through key infrastructure projects with a realistic future. This was one of several studies undertaken in the city at the time in about a 5-year span of time, including the Regional Urban Design Report, the Downtown Area Development Plan, the US 181 Harbor Bridge Project, and the Downtown Parking Management Study and Strategic Plan, as well as the Strategic Plan for Active Mobility. Projects were identified to align with the Harbor Bridge development. Several short-term projects were identified that would help accommodate additional vehicular traffic on coming into downtown from Agnes, as well as connecting pedestrians to the other side of downtown, which we call South Downtown today, so south of Kinney Street. The timing of the projects is based on available funding. In August of 2024, the Downtown Management District hired AE design firm Design Workshop to assist with the planning of this project, so meeting with stakeholders in downtown, business owners, city staff, members of the public. The second meeting took place, or maybe the third, in April, and at that time, we presented the public with a 4-way intersection or a roundabout, and it was very clear that no one wanted a roundabout, but you can see from the pictures, potential renderings of what it could look like. It was March 19th was the second stakeholder engagement, and that was held at PKK. We had 13 attendees who voted. We had more attendees present, but that's how many voted. And our DMD board approved a resolution in support of a 4-way intersection at the April meeting. And so the update here was that we were going to coordinate a feasibility study with the city using funding from an identified funding source within the TIRZ budget, which is the traffic and planning analysis. So we will be discussing that with city staff in the interim and bring this back to the board next month. Next update is PDHQ lighting. At the May meeting, there was a budget amendment to approve funding to pay for design of the lighting project. This is another project that may be put on hold that we'll discuss with city staff in the interim before our next meeting. Our Illuminando replacement project is complete. If you attended Art Walk any of the last 2 months, you would have seen the vibrant color changing lights. So we had red, white, and blue for Memorial Day. Those looked fantastic. We had, I think there's 7 colors, and so we had them super colorful for Mural Fest in June. So they were a great addition to downtown to make it look very colorful and vibrant. Speaking of Mural Fest, we just closed that out. It was a huge success. We completed 5 murals in South Downtown. We had a series of events from Community Kickoff, Artist Week, Mural Fest times Art Walk, and then we had a mural dedication party on June 7th. I'll go through slides of some of the murals, the completed murals. So we have Del Mar, Mariposa Del Mar, that's that top blue one, which is basically on the bluff wall just below YMCA. But next one, we have Apollo Americana, which is on the CC Oatkar Museum wall. Then we have Sonata Roja, which was put on the Hilliard Law Office building, Shoreline Terrace. And then we have Foxy Swine as development, Deep Blue, or Deep Currents, which is on the wall near the PAM Rehabilitation Hospital. And finally, this was the windows to Coastal Bend, which was completed by K-Space Contemporary, so our local group. Really and truly, that area of downtown, that South Downtown, is so much more vibrant now. All of these walls, I think, would be considered blighted walls beforehand, and now we have beautiful art to look at. And so thank you for all the support we received from this board and from city council members and Nueces County and Del Mar College for not only helping to support the program, but for showing up to the events. We really appreciate that. Under economic development, our newest business to open downtown is Thunderbird Wine and Spirits. We had that grand opening at Art Walk. It's another finish out for Furman Foundry building, which is now fully occupied and has a wait list for tenants. It's a beautiful building if you haven't been inside. And so this was another tenant to fill a space in that building. So one that was vacant for many years, that floor. It took a long time to get that floor cleaned up, I understand. It had decades and decades of glue and carpet and different materials covering that floor, and so look what has revealed. It's really beautiful inside. Mesquite Street parking lot, we wanted to show a before and after for one of the completed projects, one of our streetscape projects. So the top one was a picture taken when we were doing a light audit in downtown last year. And then the bottom picture shows how lit up that parking lot is now, improving safety in that area of downtown. So it looks fantastic. Now we just got to get people to park there. A staff update, we have Jenny Bodwell. She's our economic development manager. She completed her EDFP certification. It's a professional credential given to individuals who successfully complete Grow America's intensive economic development finance training series. So Jenny's been with the organization for 3 years. This is a 2-year process, and so we're very happy with her. I think she might be the only EDFP certified professional in Corpus Christi, maybe even the entire Coastal Bend. So that's a big deal for her and for the DMD. Under promotions, a June Art Walk report. So we had 42,800 visits to the Marina Arts District for the June Art Walk, 19,200 specifically into the Art Walk footprint, 50 miles away. So we continue to attract folks from beyond 50 miles, folks from out of town. We have a note there that Endurance Fest was also taking place, and so some of those visitors may have also been there for Endurance Fest. 279 businesses involved, and we continue to have outdoor entertainment with DJs and stages and our RTA downtown shuttle, and we also had Mural Fest going on at the same time. And this is our 9-block closure. We had 18 off-duty PD officers there throughout the night. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay. Board Member Scott.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Now I'm looking notes. Agnes, I noticed 2-way on Chaparral, right? It's now 1-way, right? So
Yes.
the thought is to make it 2-way.
Yes.
Can you get to the New Harbor Bridge from the federal courthouse under the new schematic, the new design? Or is everybody supposed to go down to Agnes and then circle back around?
So
I should know the answer, by the way. Yeah, right. I literally was driving around like, where is that on-ramp?
I've been looking for it.
Yeah. And
Which is why this Agnes Chaparral was an important project for us, because, I mean, realistically, most of our visitors are coming from the south side of Corpus Christi or from that direction. And so Agnes Chaparral, for as long as I've been a part of the conversation, I've always heard that Agnes exit at Agnes and Laredo, that would become the new gateway into downtown. And so if you're coming down Agnes and then you it curves there, you can either go up to Tonkawa or, the direction sign there. And if you curve left, you end up in 3 lanes
Yeah.
on Kinney and Chaparral, and you can either take a hard left, go straight, or take a hard right. And so people kind of shuffle there. They're not quite sure what to do. And so that's why we're, looking into this option. How can we make that 2-way? Because it's just that tiny little section left of Chaparral that's 1-way. Everything else is 2-way. And so that's part of the feasibility study, wanting to get with city engineering to take a closer look to see what we can do to reconfigure that project, which was identified in 2018 as something that we would need to eventually change.
Well, we don't know today. Does anybody? How do we find out if I can leave American Bank Center and head to
So in
Portland
front of the
from-
Fire Station 1, what is that, starts with a B? Anyway, there's a street right in front of
Yeah,
Fire Station 1. You go kind of like you're going to Concrete Street. You
Right.
turn left at Hogemeyer's.
Right.
Is it Hogemeyer's? The barbecue place. And then you can end up getting onto the Clover.
Right, I can go south side that
Cloverleaf.
way. My question is, can I go to Portland?
You're gonna go north to go to.
Right.
Oh,
How do
to
I
go to
go to,
Portland.
can I go to Portland?
You also, in that same respect, behind Fire Station 1, the on-ramp is still open there. But I don't know about the new one. Sorry. That's probably what you're at, the new one. Not sure.
New Bridge.
Yeah.
Curious about the new bridge, not the current bridge. All right, so can
Yeah,
somebody
that's-
help me on that?
Yeah, that's definitely something we can bring back. I think as part of this conversation is look to see what does that connectivity
Yeah.
look like. I know that they do have the renderings online that we can get with Flatiron Dragados and figure out exactly how that's going to go.
They
Ask them
did
to
say
start over
last week
because we
that
wanna-
they would put maps out in 2 weeks, so I'm anticipating a map next week.
Yeah,
The reason I bring that up is, it depends on how much, so if everything's going through Agnes, right, I don't know, man, that's got to be a massive car count at certain times of the days, weeks, months.
So coming off 37, that will still, and I'm not sure exactly where it's going to drop down, but that roadway will still exist past where the new Harbor Bridge is going to be, and that'll still drop you into downtown like it does. So if you're coming from 37, that will still drop into downtown. My understanding is that you'll still be able to go out of downtown. I'm not sure where that you'll get on, but you'll have cross streets across there too, so.
Yeah, so my sense is we can get to the south side and I can go to San Antonio. I'm just curious about going to Portland from American
downtown.
Bank Center.
Yeah, double look and see.
Okay, and then the second thing is, so as I come down Agnes, and I'm a frequent user of that, it's on the way to the annex,
Yeah.
So, true story. So, full disclosure, but there's no stop sign. There's no stopping now, right? I come around, I can take a right, go over to Annex, I can take a left, go to Chaparral, I can keep going until I get to Water Street,
Right.
right? There's no stop.
Right.
Now we're talking about a 4-way stop right there, and I'm fascinated by this opposition to a roundabout. And I was in Nashville last week, and they had a roundabout downtown, and it was full, and it seemed to work for them. Is it because there's not enough room for a roundabout, or we just think it's communist and we don't want to be a part of it? I do think there's this sense that's what they do in Europe. I've had people say that, well, I don't want to do what they do in Europe. All right.
The feedback was that nobody knows how to navigate a roundabout and that it would result in increased car accidents potentially. And then we had somebody from engineering say perhaps like historically at one time there used to be roundabouts in Corpus, and because people didn't know how to navigate them, they removed them and replaced them with 4-way stops. And so it was, overwhelming, except for 2 people, or no, 1 person, and I know exactly who it was. So.
Are they in the room? Do I have a friend? Do I have one
No,
friend?
but they're probably watching.
I like roundabouts. They seem to work. I
They're
don't have to
beautiful,
stop.
yeah.
They're all over when I travel. I'm worried about a 4-way stop at that intersection because it is fairly close to the sweeping right-hand curve, and I think we may have backup either way, right? So if there's a lot of people leaving downtown, I know 4th of July is kind of a squirrely deal, but on big events, I could see it backing up to Water Street.
Yeah.
And then coming in, it could back up around that corner, which could lead to accident.
And this could potentially change. The purpose of bringing this forward is because we want to say we need to bring attention to this intersection now that we are going to have basically a new entry into downtown. And whether it's a four-way stop or some other solution, we are trying to get there sooner rather than later.
The other thing I'd ask is that if that is the case, that we look at synchronizing the lights, from crosstown to downtown, right? Because there are several traffic intersections, lighted intersections that, like there's one at Staples, I guess that's the one. There's one at Staples and Agnes that we want to make sure it's flowing, it allows traffic to flow, if that's the new way to get to downtown. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Board Member Campos. Did I knock it?
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Oh, good questions, Councilman Scott. Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
It's been great.
And just, I'm going to say I'd love to try the roundabout. I mean, it'd be kind of cool just to, a different experience for downtown, just to add another layer, right? But I guess one of the things that I was curious about is how do you count how many visitors, just out of curiosity? Like how do you do that?
We use a software called Placer AI, and so it has 90%
I
Accurate.
can't hear you. Oh, go ahead.
Placer AI, and it uses cell phone data.
Okay, well, good. Because I was just curious how many turned out at a rally Saturday, and the police couldn't give me like an accurate count, and the newspaper reported something, and so I was just Placer AI? Okay. Good to know. Okay, and then, and it looks like, and I think I've asked you this before about the artists that we bring into our city to do the murals. What is the thing about why we don't have local artists? Because what is the situation with that?
So to create a mural of that size, right, so we had one 6-story mural. Not anyone can do art that big.
Okay.
And so it's definitely a very specific learned skill set.
Okay.
To create paintings that very large, and a lot of it is done with spray paint.
Okay.
So it's not even just paint brushes. Majority is done with spray paint, which is another artistry style. And so every year the applications are open. Maybe we get one local artist, but oftentimes they're used to doing it commissioned, which would produce a greater income. And when artists come to participate in mural fests throughout the country, or even here in Corpus Christi, they do it to be a part of something greater. Like we put on, it's basically a 10-day program. And so they get less direct income for their murals.
Okay.
So whereas something like 6 stories might cost $30,000, in our mural fest they get 4.
Oh, okay, so that's the reason. Okay, well, good to know. Okay, and it looks like we're, filling up a lot of spaces with the murals. So I'm throwing an idea out there, which I think I've sent it to you all, but I don't know what would be the process, which the idea that I'm trying to promote, I guess, would be the art wind sculpture, about going into another direction for our city, because our city is known for, being a very windy city. And I saw this, at a website where you would have to, it's this only one sculpture that I know of, but I guess we'd have to find out that there's more. But I don't know, like, who pays for these murals? I mean, like, you've been able to find, like you say, you're only pay them less money than you would if you were to do a local artist. But how would you submit a proposal, let's say, to Downtown Management District to look into a project like this? And to, like, the art sculpture, the art wind sculpture, if it's something that we can move or check into, because I would love to see more art in our downtown, especially in our downtown, and I think art sculptures, art wind sculptures would be a great additive, so.
Okay. Yeah, we can definitely look into that. I'm just trying to think how, if they're sculpting something, in the same sense where our artists paint something outdoors for, 10 days, basically, would they be sculpting something outdoors for that period of time? Or is this more of like, has to be done in a workshop and then it's like
Yeah.
a reveal, or, how that would work? But we can definitely look into it.
Those are good questions. 'cause
Adding
you're
like a
right.
sculptural or some other artistry element to
Yeah.
painting,
Okay.
sculpting.
But that would be a good asset, because it could be something, that they're going to be doing, probably is what I'm thinking. They do most of it, but then if they would offer classes here to kind of get that artistry going on here. So, and then whatever happened to our unique shuttle? Like, we used to have a really cute bus, and I know it went down.
The RTA trolley or something?
I don't know, it was just some kind of cute little bus that, a trolley, whatever happened to that little trolley? Is it still?
I mean, I see it sometimes. RTA brings it out, I think, for special occasions. Like, I used to see it for Buck Days.
Yeah, oh, maybe I haven't been to Art Walk lately, that I haven't.
Oh, did we used to use it for Art Walk?
Yeah. Yeah, it was like during Art Walk, it was just, I don't know, like a little, it wasn't the drinking one where they're pedaling.
Right.
Yeah, there is one like that, but this is a different one. I want to say it was RTA, but okay.
Yeah, RTA definitely has that cute trolley that they bring out on special occasions. Yeah, maybe, so we use the RTA shuttle for Art Walk, but it's a regular bus.
No, this was
No?
different. It was
Okay.
very unique. But
Okay.
anyway, I'll have to get a picture of that.
Okay.
Okay, and then,
Oh, so there was an Art Walk shuttle, it broke down.
okay. So can we follow up on that?
Yes.
Because, it would be kind of cool to bring it back.
Okay.
Okay, I think that was it. Thank you.
Board Member Pusley?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Turn that down. Okay, this may be really earth-shattering. I sort of agree with Councilman Campos. We're in big trouble now.
Go home, so you gotta go home.
But, and I'm just suggesting this, and there may be a lot of people who disagree with this, but we may have reached saturation point on murals. There's a lot of them now, and maybe we should look at a different direction for future art projects in the downtown area. Just a suggestion. And then we discussed this as a board several months ago, and I don't know that we ever formalized it, but we may want to look at formalizing it in the future. And that is with respect to bars. And I have nothing against bars. I've helped support many of them. But bars that don't have a food component, I think we need to really look at that carefully. If you look at the history of the bar business, bars that don't have something else besides just bar sometimes don't do well. And, we're investing taxpayer money in these institutions downtown. And I just think it's something, if on a go-forward basis, we may need to bring that back for discussion and possibly add that to basically our overall rules and regulations with respect to the downtown TIRZ.
I don't know that it's codified, sir, but we do require that every bar that receives TIRZ funding have a
Codify,
food
that's a good word.
component.
I know we discussed it and had some conversation about it, and you and I talked about it, so anyway, maybe look at that codification in the future.
Yes, sir.
And with respect to the Art Walk, there is some local component of expenditures associated with the Art Walk. And if you look at the graph here between November and February, the attendance is pretty low. So maybe we should think about, and again, a suggestion, that maybe suspending Art Walk during that time period, because we are spending money for off-duty police officers and and all kinds of things associated with supporting that.
So during that period
Do we
of time,
reach a
it's
point of,
smaller.
diminishing returns on that?
Well, this is our smaller footprint for Art Walk. So instead of doing the full 9-block closure, we do either no closures or very few, 3.
Okay.
No closures. Yeah, so we do no closures, and so it does drastically decrease our off-duty PD officer usage.
Okay. Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to bring up, and I've had many people ask me about this, and that's the possibility of looking and working with the RTA with returning a water taxi to our downtown marina. It was very popular. The RTA, at one point, the board in place didn't think that it was making enough money. I don't know if Gil was there at that time or not, but they killed it. So, but maybe a partner, were you there? Okay, you killed it. Okay.
I'll be happy to offer.
Okay, but anyway, I just, a lot of people have asked about it, and with Board Member Scott's comments about how we get to Portland and how we get to other things on North Beach that could help those businesses. So,
Okay.
anyway, thank
I'll
you.
reach out to RTA about that.
Board Member Barrera?
Yeah, just real quick in the RTA. They did try to continue it. The problem is the vessels were very expensive, and it had a lot of activity, and they had a real hard time keeping up a schedule. That was the thing. And I remember at one point or another, I said, if we can't operate it like we do the same way our buses. When I was on the board, this was pre-Gil, we had one situation where it just went between the T-Heads, the art museum, and the aquarium. Somebody parked at the aquarium, and it's moored at T-Heads, and so they were done, and they said, hey, how do we get back? And at the time, that individual was like, well, I'm sorry, we're done. And so, I mean, they figured out a way, but they said you could take a bus, So that was the whole thing. It's a real awkward deal, and the vessels were very expensive. I don't know if Gil, probably remembers, but I'm sure they're open-minded and talking.
I just think that maybe if we sat down with the RTA and the city and the RTA worked together, maybe we could come up with a better working situation on that.
Yeah.
But I think it was popular. I just don't know.
Oh, yeah, it was.
So anyway.
So my thing, which I bring up all the time, but not since you've been here,
Oh, okay.
is the parking, across from the Goldfish. There's that lot there, and, I don't know that, I know Alyssa had tried to have discussions with the property owner, because, I mean, it's great what Devin has done to that property on Mesquite. I mean, it looks great, it's lit up. I mean, I'm upstairs from that, and so, and I know it's been used during Art Walk, but I know that there's other times that it just fills up on the other side, and I think there's Rudy can probably attest, he lives down there and walks there frequently. But I just think that, we have a developer that comes invest in this property, and we're not supporting him because we have other property owners that aren't compliant. I don't know what to do about it.
Yeah, we can talk to the property owner of that lot next to Artesian Park. That's what you're talking about, yeah. It's not really fit for parking anyway. There's very deep.
It's getting really bad, and,
Yeah.
And so I don't know if they put barricades, something as simple as putting up barricades in those driveways, particularly during Art Walk.
Yeah.
What is it? Because, I think it just discourages investment when we have a solid partner. One thing I also want to commend you on, I know there's been, and typically it's under wraps, but the challenges between Retro and Water Street.
Oh.
And I just want to commend you, I get reached out, and, you and your team just really jumped on it. Whereas before I could make a call, I got a text back, hey, they're taking care of it.
Oh, good.
So just want to commend you for that. Thank you. All right.
Okay. Board Member Paxton.
Thank you, Chairman. Good gracious. Yeah, so recently I was on a trip up in Austin, and something that I saw that they were doing to kind of renovate some lower areas of town was they would take these properties that were essentially vacant and just a concrete slab, what used to be buildings or something, and they would put shade structures up, and these were not over-engineered. These wind sails would literally be attached to whatever is standing, trees, light posts, those sorts of things. And I'm not suggesting we don't engineer. We're a very windy city. But my point is, they would take these lots and add these shade sails and those beautiful little patio lights, those string lights, and they would be quasi-permanent setups for regular food trucks. And what I was seeing was these had become breakfast hubs, lunch hubs, and they were unique to whatever those vendors were. And they had picnic benches, and they were incredibly popular. And so I think Art Walk kind of creates that in a rolling schedule, if you will. But these were, I'm talking just about brick and mortar shops for these food trucks. They were set up there every day, that type of thing. These were permanent, mostly permanent setups. I'm curious, have we ever considered something like that for downtown? One, the feasibility of it, and two, the potential impact on your events like Art Walk? Because clearly, you know, we're a food truck friendly community. You know what I mean?
So I'm assuming it's like and I know I've been to something like this in Austin, but it looked like a private lot, and then they have like the faux grass, and they have sort of like those Airstream where they're not on, I mean, they remove them, so they're not permanent at all, so they can hitch them up to vehicles and pull them in and out based on, I don't know, weather or season. Maybe they're seasonally. But you're talking about bringing that in for Art Walk specifically, like for a Friday, or finding a vacant lot in downtown to set
I was
that up?
driving around downtown a little bit last night after a meeting, and I saw we've done a lot. Downtown is looking great, but there's still some very old properties that, for lack of anything different, they're just vacant, and they're just concrete or cinder block, and that's fine. We're a work in progress. But what Austin did was they turned this into an outdoor restaurant, basically. Kind of like, I don't know if you've been to the Sip Yard in Port Aransas. It's this big,
Yes, I've seen it.
Yeah,
The multi-story.
So what they do is they're using actual restaurant fronts to circle a seating area, a covered seating area in the center. But it's similar to that, where it would be a little bit more permanent. It wouldn't just be during Art Walk. It'd be set up there like, okay, I'm rushing to a morning meeting. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. I know we've got this hub. I can choose a donut. I can choose a bagel. I can get a wrap. I can get coffee from 3 different places, all in this one centralized nucleus type thing.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely look into it. The one lot that comes to mind that's on Chaparral and Schatzel, I know historically the DMD has tried to work with that private property owner to sort of activate, because it is like a concrete slab, because that building collapsed into the street, you know, back in 2014, I think it was. And so now it is just an empty slab, but the private property owner is not in favor of that because, you know, of the risk, you know, that it's not like a flat concrete slab. It elevates in some places, and there's like, you know, some things sticking out, and so it's...
I was surprised. I actually took pictures because I was like, my gosh, I know in Corpus Christi we would be like, oh, like the ground is not level. You literally walk over a curb on...
At the one in Austin?
One of them.
Yeah.
I saw several.
Yeah.
And the thing that stuck out to me was it was utilizing what would otherwise be a vacant, forgotten piece of land.
Yeah.
And they just didn't over-engineer it. And they just, you know, they'd put, all right, there's a blemish in the concrete, something sticking up.
Yeah.
Plop a picnic table on it.
Yeah, we can definitely see if
You know what
there's
I mean?
any property owners who would be willing to,
I think
partner or
that's
something like that.
becoming increasingly popular, and I think it would be a low investment type
Mm-hmm.
thing to really transform an empty space. It would support our food truck businesses. It would offer new amenities without, hundreds of thousands of dollars of investing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it would be creative to look at.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Board Member Hernandez.
Okay, I wanted to get a couple things to Commissioner Pusley's discussion on the water taxi or ferry or something like that. The cost was exorbitant. It was like between $20 and $25 per person per trip, and we were only recovering around $2.50 to $3 per person, depending on whether there was a child or an adult. And so it was, just the RTA in itself is 95% taxpayer subsidized. So it was kind of hard to justify the cost with regards to that. And, Councilman Barretta could probably confirm some of this information. Plus, if you got winds above 20 miles an hour, they couldn't operate. They constantly had mechanical issues. The boats weren't in great shape. It was just a plethora, cornucopia of issues with that water taxi, trying to get people back and forth from downtown over to North Beach and back. The logistics of it were just really not ideal for the situation that we were in. I know the port had thought about bringing that back. I don't know where that ended up, but there's thoughts about doing something from where for their location from their building over there as well. Maybe you can reach out to them. Okay. But it was just operationally just very difficult to do. Being a former sailor myself, I can attest to how difficult the conditions are when you have high winds, and we're known as a windy city. Mm-hmm. In terms of trying to get in and out of port, when you have 20 miles plus wind pushing on that boat. Like I said, just the logistics of it are very difficult, and I don't want to. It's nice to do, and it's on a great sunny day, it's great, but for the most part, it's really tough to administer.
We could sail back.
No, even worse, even worse. So I didn't. I don't want to. Pop anybody's balloon or anything like that. I just want to give the reality of it, how harsh that is. As far as the buses that used to be trolleys, yes. It's hard to put natural gas tanks on a trolley. That's the reason why they're not bringing those back. So those are diesel vehicles.
Okay.
No. I don't want to talk about electric. The fire hazard associated with electric buses. I just, in a marine environment, forget it. Plus, I don't even want to talk about the firefighting aspects of that. Let's not even go there. Other than that, I think for the most part, you're right about the murals. We might be at a saturation point.
Okay.
Might have maybe some other art thought processes there. I mean, I like the mural things. It's great. But, we're going to run out of buildings here pretty soon. And it's going to look weird if you have too many, right?
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Board Member Vaughn.
Just a couple of comments. I do like Councilwoman Paxton's idea for the structure, but I think the downside is picnic tables, benches, it becomes a homeless bedroom. And I think you have to be really careful with that because we've got many more homeless now than we have before. And as far as the roundabout, I love the idea of the roundabout. It's more efficient than I think it is. I think y'all need to look at both of them, and I think you're selling our citizens short. They'll get used to using it. It's not that difficult to drive on a roundabout.
Okay.
Just my 2 cents. Thanks.
Okay, I'm sure, if the project moves forward, it'll definitely come before you and as this body and possibly even city council, so, yeah.
Thank you. There's one thing I wanted to mention. I had a couple constituents talk to me about parking, and I wondered, have we done a study when you take a look at Plains Capitol and the other buildings there on weekends? Do they allow people to park there, visitors to park in their spaces in those buildings during the weekend?
I don't know specifically about Plains Capital, but to answer the first half of the question, there was a study done in 2016, and it was adopted in 2017. It's very robust, very in-depth, and so I know they looked at all of the private parking options in downtown and indicated whether or not the public was allowed to park there, and if so, what time. So it's very detailed. I'm sure it would have that information in there, so I can get back to you on that
Yeah.
for that business specifically.
And, a lot has happened since 2016 when they wrote that. I mean, we've grown quite a bit. And so maybe, I was thinking First Community or whatever the other building is next to that, maybe we can look at some options there because on that particular side, I think what Devin Bachta and the others are doing on the other side of, near Chaparral or Mesquite is certainly worthy. But anyway, I just want to look into that.
And I will add that the city is updating the parking study. So we do have a parking department with the parking manager, and so that is something that we're in the process of having updated right now.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, I see that there's no other questions. Again, I'd like to apologize for moving those 2 agenda items. I've got Board Member Pusley.
Just a point of information, and I know that y'all can verify this, but when we did the parking study, initially there was some positive feedback from the property owners that own, but then I think they talked to their lawyers, and most of them came back and said the liability issues were just more than they wanted to absorb. So, but please verify that. But that's what I remember from the discussions. But you're right. It's something we have, and I've voiced this also. We're a victim of our own success now. As we have improved things in downtown area, the parking has become a huge issue. So anyway.
Well, thank you for the input. Anyway, I just wanted to mention again that we're going to move those 2 agenda items to next week. I appreciate everyone's patience. And with that, there's no other business. Oh, I'm sorry. Board Member Sedgwick.
Thank you. I just wanted to, this is my own? Yeah, just wanted to point out that Arlene signed her contract this morning. So she is now our Executive Director of the Downtown Management District. Last week, the board of the DMD made that decision, and she told me just before we started that she signed her contract. So welcome, and thank you very much, Arlene.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you very much, Jim. Appreciate that. Thank you.
That's awesome. And with that being said, there's no further business. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you.